an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Gravity Falls, Season 2, Episode 11, Not What He Seems. In this episode, so it turns out Grunkle Stan has a brother. That brother has 6 fingers and appears to be the author of the journals. And apparently whatever Grunkle Stan has been doing has been to get his brother back? I don't like this, though. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Melanie for commissioning this episode and for being really flexible about the coverage. I've been having internet issues, as some of you may know, and I had to move this one around a couple of times due to that. This episode I watched live, and if you are, if you use Crowdcast and you have been following along, you can watch the Crowdcast of me viewing this episode live, and it was a really fun one to watch live because there are so many weird little reveals that lead up to a big reveal, and even though there's the big reveal at the end of this with finding out that like Grunkle Stan has a brother, maybe Grunkle Stan is, we still don't really have answers. It just leads to more questions. And I'm always a fan of a big reveal that leaves you going, wait, but what? And I am extremely eager to watch the next one. But the next one, I believe, is also a voyeur episode. And I think I get to watch it Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, pretty soon. So I don't get to go and watch it right away. But I don't have to wait too long either. Thank you for having mercy on me, Melanie. That would be torture. So let's start at the beginning of this episode. We see Grunkle Stan, and he's got a bunch of toxic waste, and he's saying, all right, that should be enough. Can't be too careful with this stuff. And wipes his forehead, smearing this toxic waste onto his skin. Now, this could just be a bit of a joke about how he is saying he can't be too careful, but is not actually being careful at all. Or this could be something that is actually going to become an issue later. The fact that he has been poisoned with toxic waste. It could really go either way. But I found it very unnerving to watch, and a glowing streak of like antifreeze green not only get smeared across his forehead, but there's like a Foley sound effect of like burning as it disappears into his skin. And I just hated it so much. So he is saying that he's going to flip this switch, and he's looking at the instructions in the book that say something about how there can be gravitational anomalies, and that this like isn't something that, basically the book is warning against doing exactly what he's doing. And Grunkle Stan is pretty much of the opinion that this book can get fucked. He's going to do what he's going to do. Extreme usage not recommended is the way it said. Could result in minor gravity anomalies, gravity hotspots. But yeah, he presses the button anyway, and we see the countdown beginning. Then that triangle begins to, like, there's a circle in the middle that begins to spin wildly. And you see this, like, basically starscape behind the circle as it spins. Like like he's opening a portal into space or something. And as this happens, things all over town begin to be lifted into the air, like gravity has turned off. And everybody's asleep, so people don't seem to notice this right away. it's not until it happens again in the afternoon, because this is going to continue happening and getting more and more severe, that people actually notice what's happening around here. And a lot of them, because there isn't really any sort of explanation for it, people just think that it's a little baby, a little baby earthquake. Aw, baby sized. Oh my God. This show is really fun. I had asked a while back, and Melanie didn't want to give me the answer. And you still may not want to. We're not done with the series, so that's fine. But I had asked a while back whether or not the opening montage of scenes that we see while the credit music is playing, or not credit music, theme music is playing, whether those are just inventions of the writers for a fun thing to show us, or whether they are actually from the show, moments that we get to see in episodes, that they took some of the best moments and put into this montage. I am assuming at this point that we're not going to get to see these things, that these are just made up moments for the montage. But we do see a moment of Dipper and Mabel slowly lifting off the ground, off their beds, as other things in the room also begin to lift and float. So there's like a bit of a hint that something like this is going to happen. But other than that, everything else is sort of, it doesn't seem like they're linked to anything. Let's see. Melanie says they either exist in episodes or are related to stuff that happens. Okay, so the main one I am thinking of is the standing inside the giant footprint as they look at the other giant footprint that is much smaller than the giant footprint they are standing in. Is that, I don't remember that like being linked to anything. Like I can't think of they've certainly encountered giant creatures before, but I don't remember the footprint thing. But regardless, the fact that they have them disconnected from gravity, I find kind of compelling and interesting. So, all right, moving on. We start off after the credits roll with Mabel and Dipper discovering a stash of fireworks because, as she puts it, I was opening random doors because I'm a creep. And they say that they want to have a firework party on the roof. And as they say this, Grunkle Stan comes around the corner and is like, there is no way I'm allowing this unless I get to be there. And I don't really know if this scene would have had the same kind of impact if we didn't know these characters this well. But there comes a scene of just a lovely summer afternoon that they're spending shooting off fireworks together. Then, and they're eating popsicles while they do it. And then they are using water balloons to put out the many fires that they have started. And Grunkle Stan is just sitting out with a beer, I think, and is just watching them and enjoying himself. And I just really loved getting to see this moment of all of them just having a bonding session, an afternoon of craziness that he is totally sanctioning and participating in. And I just really thought this was super sweet and sort of moving. And it makes a lot of sense to me why he begins to think that maybe he should say something to them. He's starting to, they mentioned something about how they still have plenty of summer left. And he gets real bajiggity about it when they say that. And that is of interest to me as well, because it'd be one thing to just be like, well, things are going to change, and thinking to himself well, they don't know what's coming. But when they say plenty of summer left, that is the thing that he sort of stops and second guesses. He repeats to himself. And there's something about that wording catching his attention that makes me go, okay, then what does he think is going to happen? Because what we're sort of led to think in this moment, and as we watch this all unfold, is that whatever Grunkle Stan is about to do is like going to end the world somehow. And of course, there's the whole thing with, you know, what they believe is going to happen and why they are going to shut the whole thing down. But there's the appearance at the end of his brother. There isn't, at this point, an obvious reason to me why he would think that the summer is now going to be over for them, unless there is like a second part to all of this that, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there has to be something beyond just getting his brother back that he expects to happen. Maybe he thinks they are going to be taken away, or he is going to be taken away, but he definitely anticipates an end to things somehow. And that's the part that's making me nervous, is what does that mean? Why does he think that? Is he correct in his assumptions? Like, is this something that he has experience with, that he has been through before and he knows what's going to happen? Or is he just making a bunch of assumptions based on his, like, you know, flawed understanding of how things work? Because as we are seeing, Grunkle Stan needed the journals to complete this, like, mission that he has been on. This isn't information that he has memorized. It doesn't feel like stuff that he knows himself. He is using the intelligence of someone else. And when I say intelligence, I don't mean like smarts. I mean like the information that somebody else has collected to do this thing, which means to me that maybe he doesn't actually know everything that's going to happen. So I'm hoping him sort of reacting this way to the plenty of summer left line is him being mistaken and thinking something is going to happen or come between them or end. And it's not really. It's just that he doesn't actually know what he's doing. And maybe he doesn't know, like, maybe he's bringing his brother back because he thinks his brother is going to finish things. Because obviously it looks like the brother is the one who wrote the journals. He's the, what is the word that we keep using for him? The author. So maybe he's like summoning his brother back because he expects his brother to finish things, tie up loose ends, complete whatever this is. And I just really don't want them all to be separated. I don't want things to end. I don't want Gravity Falls destroyed. I don't want Grunkle Stan to have to, like, leave their lives. I'm not happy with any of the options that I can think of. They all are sad. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Grunkle Stan is about to tell them something and then says, I'm going to go refresh my soda. And he walks away and there's a red light that appears on his hat. And all of a sudden he's like, what's this? Is this a ladybug? And he goes to smack it. And all of a sudden a bunch more of these red lights appear and he gets tackled by somebody in like what looks like riot gear. I guess they're like special ops, right? And the kids get surrounded. Choppers come in. A bunch of dudes like rappel down right through the eye in the triangle window, I might add. They even capture poor Waddles and have him put behind some police tape. Oh, Waddles, you deserve better, my friend. And Grunkle Stan, for his part, really plays a convincing rube. Who he's just like, I don't understand. What did I do that could get me this arrested? Why are you guys, taking such intense action against me? If I hadn't seen with my own eyes that he was down in that room with the toxic waste, I would have doubted myself. I wouldn't have known whether or not to believe him. It's just, he's very convincing. I don't like that he's such a good liar. It worries me. And he convinces the kids completely because it's, they know that he's a scammer. They know that he steals. They know that he's, just a shady character in his own very charming way. But he's being accused of stealing toxic waste, which is just outside his wheelhouse, well outside his wheelhouse. They are used to him stealing stuff that he thinks he can make money off of. And the idea of him stealing something like this, that's like dangerous, that you would like, what are you even going to do with it? It just doesn't jive with anything that they know about him. So of course they assume that he's innocent. That the police have the wrong guy. And it's tragic to keep seeing these FBI agents being like, you don't know your Grunkle Stan at all. It's really kind of sad to see how he's playing you. And this comes up more than once this episode, of somebody trying to tell them, you don't know who this person is, and them just not wanting to hear it. And I'm not mad at them for that. You know, like when this is one of the things about getting close to people that can be so unnerving, is that you believe the closer you get to somebody, the more clearly you see them and know who they are. But there are people who are really good at manipulating others, and who make it so that those closest to them have the least clarity. And it can be the sort of thing where if a stranger comes into the situation, they, for some reason, can very clearly see, well, this person's not who they say they are, or they're acting like this, but I see in their eyes that they really feel like this. But if you try and say anything like that to somebody who thinks they know a person, you're going to come up against a brick wall of them just being like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know them. You don't. It will be a combination of laughing at you because they think you're so out of line, and also a bit of resentment and maybe even feeling insulted. Like, I can't believe that you, a stranger, think you can come in here and tell me about a person that I know way better. And also, you think you're smarter than me, which isn't necessarily what somebody is saying. It can just be, you're too close to see clearly. That happens, you know? I like to think that I'm pretty good at judging character, and that whether or not I'm close or far away wouldn't make a huge difference with me. But I am like a regular human like anybody else, and there are people out there who are exceptional manipulators and really good actors. And, you know, I can't say that I know for a fact I've never been fooled, or that somebody wouldn't manage to fool me in the future. That can absolutely happen. Let's see. Melanie says, I like that line. He knows he's done things to be arrested for, but not this much arresting. Yeah, exactly. This is a really extreme, like this is a scene out of a movie. So he gets taken away, and Dipper and Mabel are going to be sent to child services, which is a real bleak line that I was just like, man, I am not like, I guess we don't know what's up with their parents. And so this is something that I asked last time, and during the live watch, I got cut off because my internet went out again. Luckily, I was able to watch the entire episode before it went down. But I was trying to remember what the situation is with their parents. We know that they were sent here over the summer because their parents thought that they needed some fresh air and to get off of their like devices, right? Because we see like the scene in the opening of the two of them like playing video games or on their phones or something like that, and how this is supposed to be something that's like good for them. And I don't really remember anything else, like hearing anything else about what's up with their parents. I don't even remember if we know whether Grunkle Stan is their paternal or maternal Grunkle. And there's also I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. But I'm going to mention it. When they find the picture of Grunkle Stan a little bit later, because they discover this stash of all of his like IDs and what turns out to be like the code to get into the behind the snack machine. They look up at this picture, and both Dipper and Mabel speak at the same time. And they say something, like, it looked to me for a second, or I heard her say something that I thought sounded like dad. Now, I might be totally mishearing that, but I just assumed that we knew their father was in their lives. They don't have a missing dad, right? Austin says they just are staying there for a summer vacation, and they think he's paternal great uncle, father's uncle due to last name. Yeah, their father is in their lives. Okay. Then I probably misheard, so that's fine. But I just wanted to clarify that. I should also mention that I really enjoy that the police station has graffiti on it, one of which is definitely the muffin explosion that Robbie does, and the other, it just says tag. It's not even like it's a tag that says tag. And we go inside. God, Disney Plus is being such an asshole today. We go inside and see Stan getting his what do you call it? Mugshot getting taken and his fingerprints getting taken. He looks so like unkempt and cranky. And he is being questioned by, what is this one? Trigger? I don't remember which name is the, Nick Offerman character, but he's questioning Stan, and Stan is like, he's like trying to be like, I'm innocent, but he's saying innocent, guilty. And then, can I just have my phone call, please? He's not real good at this. For somebody who's like a great scam artist and has managed this so much, doesn't pull it off when it seems to count. And we have what turns out he uses for his phone call. He gets in touch with Seuss, who thinks at first that Stan has taken over the lumberjack in the drive-thru, who has the speaker in his mouth. But he tells Seuss, I need you to go guard the snack machine. And if anybody comes to try to get past you, don't let them pass. Don't let them near it. Guard it with your life. And Seuss first gets his Happy Meal. And then he streaks out of the parking lot and heads to the Mystery Shack right through a hedge. So the kids are in the back of this car being taken care of by, I think this is Agent Trigger, and the one with the mustache is like Agent Bullet or something. Pistol. Fucking Powers. Oh, that's less interesting. Right. Powers and Trigger. Thank you. They are talking over how this is obviously a huge misunderstanding, trying to figure out a way that they can, prove that Grunkle Stan is innocent. And the main thing is that they want to look at the security footage that proves that Grunkle Stan was where he says, which was restocking the souvenir shop. And this was the one thing, like, in the episode, I'm not mad at this, but it is one of those things that, like, I guess we're supposed to believe that the security system is kept so secret that these cops wouldn't be able to find it, because I was like, this would be the first thing they would do, was try and find security footage if they're investigating this. But yeah, they wind up using this amazing several times bumper sticker to their advantage. So they're passing by what I believe is Wendy's dad, the lumberjack, on the road. And the lumberjack has a several times rules bumper sticker. And Mabel decides to try and get an escape set up by baiting this driver into driving like a nut job and plowing into them in order to get away. And it winds up working. She writes, several times is overrated in the steam on her window. And sure enough, they crash. They crash in just such a way that the agent that was driving is trapped in the car, and the two of them manage to sprint back to the Mystery Shack in record time. And as they are heading back, we have another anomaly with gravity, and things begin to lift up into the air again. And Grunkle Stan is keeping an eye on everything and realizing that's what he can use to get out of this. Because the main thing is he keeps repeating that he has to be there when it happens, which is something that I didn't quite absorb until the fourth or fifth time that he said it for some reason. And I don't know why I didn't know. I guess I was just distracted because there's a lot happening this episode. But because I kept thinking well, it's on autopilot, right? So it's going to happen in 18 hours. Your job is done. They don't know where the machine is. Just let it do its thing. But he needs to get back in time is what's the crucial aspect of this. So he eventually uses the biggest, because every time that gravity gets turned off, everything goes a little higher and it lasts a little longer than the last time. And he notices that and takes advantage of it. So the next time that they lose gravity, he there's this amazing fight scene between him and all of the other agents. It's honestly great. It's reminding me a little bit of the Grunkle Stan that was fighting all of the zombies in that one episode with the, I think he has the baseball bat or something. I don't even remember, but he was a badass all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I was like, yo, Grunkle Stan, what? Uncle Stan, says Austin. Oh my God, I love that. I love it so much. But yeah, so he manages to escape and locks all of them in the interrogation room to buy himself a little extra time. Meanwhile, I should mention that poor old man McGucket is packing and about to head out because it seems like he kind of has an inkling of what's going on. First of all, on his little laptop, it says 4 hours something until activation. When that machine activates, I gotta get out of town. So he seems to be aware something's going on, but it's unclear to me whether he has the right idea or if he if he has seen this before, or if he's just kind of basically just being smart about it. Oh, hey, there's a timer on my computer. Something huge is about to happen. I don't like the looks of this. I think I'm going to bail. I just feel like that might just be some common sense shit that we could all stand to learn from. But, gets his raccoon wife and puts her in the bag. Poor raccoon wife. No, I hate it. So old man McGucket leaves town. The last we see of him, he is fleeing with a bag on his back. And I just can't help but wonder what's going to happen there, if he's going to play a factor later on. So Mabel and Dipper get back to the Mystery Shack, which is under interrogation, or not under interrogation, under surveillance. And they use her grappling hook to get into the house. And it's just the best. It made me so happy that she gets to use this again. And they search the place for the security footage, which they do wind up finding. They have to pull the antler on the jackalope. And it opens the secret door into the room. So at first, when they're watching the security footage, it does seem to exonerate Grunkle Stan. He is indeed on camera, and he is restocking the souvenirs. He looks around real shadily, goes out the door, and Dipper begins to fast forward and realizes that he doesn't come back. Hours have passed. It's now dark in the shop, and he still isn't back. And then the camera picks up this dude in a yellow radioactive, one of those hazmat suits. And he's got a hand dolly of a barrel. And even when Mabel, against all good sense and judgment, she tries to be anybody could be in that suit, it's not necessarily what it looks like. Then Stan drops a barrel on his own foot and swears, and he says hot Belgian waffles, which I kind of love. I'm just like a big fan of using everyday words as swear words. You know, you don't need to use words that sound like the swear. Like, for example, I hate it when people try and say fudge instead of fuck because it's just so goofy. Just use other words. Make something else up. Hot Belgian waffles. It works for me. I don't know why. I feel like it's because it's got so many like strong consonants. Hot Belgian waffles. There's something about those words that just feels like, yeah, you could say those with like the kind of force you would use to say motherfucker, you know? I feel it. Hot Belgian waffles works for me. So yeah, that really puts to rest any claims that Mabel could make that this person in this video is not Grunkle Stan. So she's still trying to rationalize this. I mean, just because he stole some toxic waste doesn't mean that he is an evil person who's leading some sort of double life. But Dipper, underneath this video thing, pulls out a box, and it is filled with different passports. And there's Sten Pinefield, Hal Forrester, Andrew 8-Ball Alcatraz, which that one's from Mississippi. It's like an ID card. It could be just like a driver's license. And that one has like the chain around his neck that we like associate now with Grunkle Stan. These are all fake IDs. There are other things in the box as well. They find a folded up newspaper clipping that says Stan Pines dead. And Mabel, this one she just can't explain. Foul play suspected. I'm trying to get to pause it over the article so that I can read it word for word here. I love the look on her face when she opens this thing. Foul play suspected in Pines' death. The flaming wreckage of a wrecked car was found in a ditch 4 miles from Highway 618 at 6 a.m. Monday morning. The cut breaks and odd location of the car suggest that this was no accident. Says a rookie cop, mighty suspicious, mighty suspicious. In other news, leg warmers are all the rage this week, and we predict this style will go on forever. I love getting to pause over these like bits of the show. I like getting to do this in all the stuff that I cover, actually, because this is not something that I do when I'm watching on TV, you know. But so Melanie is asking me, what do you think about these IDs? And the thing that's that's kind of fucking me up is that the one with the for Hal Forrester, he's got a mole on his chin. That is something that, it's not like you can't fake that, but I feel like that would be a difficult thing to consistently fake. Sten Pinefield is like a really similar looking face, just a different haircut, but he doesn't have the mole. And then the one for Andrew 8-Ball Alcatraz, he's got no glasses. And he has like a scar on the side of his face. And, you know, again, you can fake having glasses and not. You can fake, you can get contacts. Maybe you don't even need glasses and they're not prescription. But the scar is another thing that it looks like something that would stay, or it's faked, but maybe not. So the question in my head is whether or not these are actually all fake, or are they collections of different people who look the same and are different versions of one another? Because, you know, the way that this portal opens up and this other dude comes through, it feels like we could easily be working in multiple timelines / dimensions and different versions of Stan Pines that we know and love are out there living different types of lives. And, you know, they even have like, up until you get to 8-Ball Alcatraz, they even have similar names. So, you know, or maybe these are the other identities of his brother. Maybe his brother was the one that was like faking his identity. I don't know. So, okay, so yeah, they are then realizing that maybe the Stan Pines that they know isn't the Stan Pines that the world knows, you know, that he has taken somebody else's identity. Mabel is clinging to the idea that maybe they're getting her pranked because we see like a Punk'd episode spoof when they're riding in the car earlier. But they're looking through all of this paraphernalia that was in this box, and eventually she comes across the or I think Dipper comes across. No, she finds it. She finds the secret code, and Dipper thinks that he can solve it, but then he realizes that this isn't like something that he is familiar with, this kind of code. And she puts it together almost immediately that this is the vending machine, which just tickles me. Like, I love the fact that she's the one that figures that out, because of course she does. And they manage to get past Seuss. It takes a minute. Seuss at first does not want to let them by. He's taking this whole like assignment that he's been given by Grunkle Stan very seriously. And he even says something at one point about how I'll protect this and then I'll get adopted and I'll change my name to Stan Jr. And I'm just like, oh, Seuss, you just deserve so much better, sweetie. I love you. Austin says, I mean, we already knew Stan spent time in a South American prison. True. Have you seen The Visit? It has a similar thing to this. Kids go to visit their estranged grandparents. Turns out 2 mental patients killed them and have taken their place. No, I have not. That sounds upsetting. Thank you. But no, I'll pass. So yeah, they go to Seuss. They tell him that they need him to step aside. Seuss is just initially really resistant, and they begin to fight him. And they're doing a pretty decent job, to be honest. But eventually, they get interrupted by Mabel pushing in the correct numbers over his shoulder while he's standing in front of it. And the door like flies open and knocks them all down. And they see this like tunnel going underneath the shack. And they're all just like, what the fuck? What possible explanation could there be for this? And they get into the fucking elevator, which I forgot that there's a full on elevator. And when the doors open, they're in the nerve center. This is the secret lab. And poor Seuss especially is just upset by this. He loves Stan. He thought he knew and could trust Stan. And it seems like maybe Stan is a complete stranger / liar. Now, I gotta say, I'm still like really wondering if we're going to find out who Seuss's dad is, and if it's going to be Grunkle Stan or like, you know, the other version, his brother. I don't know, but I'm still kind of clinging to Seuss finding out. Oh my God. Disney Plus keeps on closing and losing my spot. Y'all are killing me. I hate it. So they're going downstairs as Grunkle Stan escapes jail, and he does this really smart thing, where he hides behind a car, but he gives a taxi driver a bunch of money and tells a taxi driver to take off at full speed and not stop no matter how much the cops chase him. So of course, when they come out of the station, they believe that he is in the taxi when in fact he is on foot running back for the Mystery Shack. I absolutely love this like little bit of deceit on his part. So for his part, Dipper is taking this harder than Mabel for sure. She keeps on trying to be like, well, everybody's got secrets. This doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. And she notices the picture of her and Dipper and says it's still Stan. He loves us and we love him, right? And as she's saying this, really taking comfort from it, you can see her beginning to smile and be like, okay, I feel better. Dipper walks up to the desk and freaks out because the fucking journals 1 and 2 are sitting there. And he realizes that Grunkle Stan has been acting like the journals are ridiculous. These are a joke. I can't believe you think that's real. Sure, I don't even care about the journal. Go ahead and take it back, kid. I don't care. The whole thing was just all a farce. And Dipper is really like this more than anything fucks him up. Seuss says maybe he's the author. And at this point, Dipper is just like, or maybe he stole them from the author, because Dipper is pretty much immediately willing to think the worst of Grunkle Stan once this reveal happens. Like everything from here on out, he's just like, oh, well, obviously he's a giant lying liar, a master criminal. This is his master plan, this machine. So he opens all of the journals and can see the plan that's like coming, you know, the way that the journals all connect. And he uses his UV light on it. And it says, the machine was meant to create knowledge, but it is too powerful. The device is if fully operational, could tear our universe apart. I was wrong the whole time. It must not fall into the wrong hands. If the clock ever reaches 0, our universe is doomed. Total global destruction. And we see all of these like illustrations of like earthquakes and people falling into ravines and the earth splitting in half. It's dire. And they look up and they realize that they only have 1 minute and 13 seconds left. And there is a manual override switch. If they all 3 turn their keys at the same time, it will reveal this giant pulsing red button that they can press to stop the machine. As they run up and are about to press stop, Grunkle Stan comes in and screams for them to step back. Don't stop it, please. And I really like the way this goes. Dipper is definitely past the point of trusting Grunkle Stan. He's like, you know, Grunkle Stan says, you have to trust me. And Dipper's like, I'm sorry. And why the fuck would I do that? You have lied about everything all summer long. It has just been one bullshit after another. All of the shit that I believed about you. Tell me why I should believe you now. I don't even know who you are. And Stan is saying, if you just let me explain. And as he's about to like say something, the gravity goes off again and everything begins to lift even further into the air. I really enjoy how much we see the poor goat go up in the air. Like that happens multiple times. It's just precious to me. And throughout town, there's even like flickers of what look like lightning in the air. Like everybody's going up much higher than they did last time. Mabel is like kind of held in place because there is a cable on the floor that looped around her leg as she was lifted up into the air. So she is able to go back down to the spot where the button is. And Grunkle Stan starts to come at her, trying to like sort of swim through the air in this weird way. And Seuss tackles him for the first time, really disobeying an order from Stan because he has lost trust as well. And Mabel is clinging to this button, not pressing it yet, and crying. And you can see her little tears coming out the corners of her eyes and like floating into the air. It's really sad and precious. And she's saying, I don't even know if you're my Grunkle. I want to believe you. And Grunkle Stan says, remember when I told you guys I wanted to say something earlier today? Well, I was going to tell you, you're about to hear a lot of bad stuff about me. And some of it is even true. But everything that I have worked for is for this family. Everything I care about, it's all for this family. And Dipper is on her one side telling her to listen to her head. Stan is telling her, look in my eyes. Do you really think I'm a bad guy? And finally, Mabel says, Grunkle Stan, I trust you. And let's go. And floats into the air in this moment. That's pretty baller, to be honest. And all of a sudden the timer is off. We reach 0. There's this like streak of white light and everybody almost looks like they've been like vaporized to the way this animation is done. Everything in town, by the way, is still up in midair. The gravity did not turn back on. Everything did not hit the ground yet. But as we see them all apparently looking like they're being vaporized, things return to normal. The gravity comes back on. The light turns down. They have not been vaporized. And the portal is open. And we see this dude walk through. And he's got like a fucking machine gun or something on his back. He's wearing what looks like a cape. He's got like a bandage tied around one arm and like big boots. And he comes to the journal and puts his hand over it. And he's got 6 fingers. And that's when Grunkle Stan says, that's the author of the journals, my brother. And this dude takes off his hood and his mask. And it looks just like Grunkle Stan. Dun, dun, dun. And that is the end of the episode. Really mean. Really unnecessary to stop at that point. I don't appreciate it. So, yeah. I don't know what to make of this. You know, his brother could mean anything. It could mean a literal brother. It could mean like a version of myself and I consider them like brothers. I don't know if he means it literally or if like, and they're definitely not twins because I assumed they were twins at first. And then I was like, if they were, Grunkle Stan would also have 6 fingers. So that doesn't make sense. They have to just like if they're brother. And that's another thing that speaks against this person just being a different universe version of Stan because Stan would have 6, unless they got this from like radioactive waste, I guess. They sprouted another finger spontaneously. I don't know. Austin says this episode came out in March 2015. The next half came out in July 2015. Yeah, that's mean. What a thing to do to everybody. And then we have like the credit sequence, which we just see the 2 of them sitting on swings by the beach, swinging in dead silence. And one of them has glasses on and is wearing like a little jacket with elbow patches and has what looks like a journal stuck in his back pocket. And the other one is just wearing like a regular t-shirt. The other one looks a lot like Dipper, honestly. And I'm assuming that the one on the left is his brother, who is the author. And that, you know, the elbow patches and the glasses are all meant to signify that he's much more of the what do you call it? The intellectual, the one that's out here doing research and whatnot. And maybe Grunkle Stan took his brother's identity to like cover up, maybe like did his brother fake his own death? And if he did, he can't have faked his own because if Stan Pines is taking somebody else's identity, why would he take the identity of somebody that headlines said died? Unless that was from, I don't know. Let's see. Austin says the scene with the swings was foreshadowed in the episode where they went into Stan's memories. Also, there was this memory in that episode. Look at the kid in the bleachers with the book. Melanie says, so did Stan know his brother would come out of the portal? Where or when did the brother come from? We once more get some answers, but nothing in terms of why. Austin has shared a link. I'm afraid to click it. Are you sure it's safe? I don't want to. He says just a photo. That doesn't answer my question. Melanie says, don't please. Yeah. I don't know, Austin. I feel like you're feeding me information that I might not be supposed to put together yet. So, you know, I understand that you might not feel it's a spoiler, but I am very suspicious of this kind of thing. If it's something that I haven't like started to notice myself yet, I feel like maybe this is something that I'll notice once we're all done. But you know, I get touchy about it. But yeah, so I just like there's a lot of, the main thing for me is there's a headline that says Stan Pine's dead. If there's a headline that says Stan Pine's dead, why are you going to take the identity of Stan Pines, whom everyone seems to be aware is dead? Unless that's from like across the country from like 50 years ago, nobody's going to put it together. Stan Pines isn't like a terribly uncommon name, but it just is a weird thing to do. Maybe it's an alternate version of the future where he knows that he gets killed by somebody doing such and such. Or I don't know. I don't have a good theory on this. So yeah, I'm going to be watching the next episode live. By the time this episode goes up, that will have happened already. Like if once it's up on iTunes, but you can still come and like watch the video of me watching the episodes. So meta, we're watching you watch something. So yeah, that is the end of the episode. I feel like I'm about done talking about it. I've just floated everything that I can think of. Is there anything that you guys want to ask me? I do, like, I'm a couple minutes short and I can either wrap or answer a couple of questions if you guys have any, but you know, I'm not sure what you can ask at this point. All right. Well, I think I'll probably wrap up. I am super curious. And how many episodes are remaining after this? I'm going to look. This is episode 11 and episode 21. 10 more. Fuck. There is so much left to go. I really thought this was like 2/3 into the season, but not even close. Wow. Okay, cool. Well, that's fun. This big reveal is like halfway. So I'm excited. All right. Well, thank you guys again so much for coming and hanging out with me. Thank you for toMelanie for commissioning this. And I also really appreciate you being so flexible. I'm so glad that I was able to get through this and never got cut off once. Yay! So happy. All right, everybody. I will be seeing you Tuesday evening. Oh, and the Wednesday episode where I will be watching this live is going to be taking place at 6 p.m. So just to warn y'all that those times have changed because I'm trying to record at night from now on since the daytime seems to be taken over by people working from home. So yeah, if you want to hang out with me, it'll be in the evening. Hopefully that makes it easier for some of you. We'll see. All right, guys, thank you again. And I'll be seeing you soon. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.